What's the name of the panel again? I'm sorry. They shortened it.
Are they changing for the good?
Video games.
Video games. Are they changing for the good? Question mark. Hello, I am your host panelist Charlie from Alter Confusion, and to my right is.
Hi, I'm Chris Carter. I am the president and CEO of Southeast Gamers. We're a local LAN community. We host LAN parties once a month, every month here in the Atlanta area. So if you guys want to come out to a LAN, check it out, southeastgamers.org.
Quick question. Does the entire crowd, okay, who in this crowd does not know what LAN is?
I can't tell you what it means, but I've done it.
You don't know that?
It's bleak, I wouldn't say.
In very simplistic terms, it is what happened before like Xbox Live and PlayStation Network and stuff like that. People get together, play games in person rather than online.
Local area network. But also, the cool thing before, well, I guess it came out about the same time as LAN, is this beautiful thing called Hot Seat. I love Hot Seat.
Please don't get me started on hot seats.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, are video games changing for the good? How many of you out there believe that video games have been making things better?
In our society?
Sure, we'll go with society, or, yeah, society. Be careful.
There's those charities.
Yes, there are a bunch more charities out there. Extra Life is chief among them for me, at least. I'm 5-6 years into it.
I'm a bit biased, but of course, actually. And then you've got St. Jude's, you know, and a whole bunch of others.
I need to do St. Jude's one year. I need to do that.
It's supposed to, the St. Jude's does, they go through the whole year.
I know.
There's not just one thing. Like
I know, but anyways, so once upon a time, in a very far away land, there is these beautiful things called Nintendo Entertainment Systems. And they had video games that, on a cartridge, that once you have them, that's it. If there's a bug, you don't fix it. And of course, as we've progressed and internet has increased in popularity, then we started getting patches. Well, actually, before that, we used to buy magazines, you know, paper things that you read. You have to flip the page. That came with patch CDs that would fix your game. And of course, finally, we have the patches that download either automatically to your system or you just download it. But because of that, now you can have broken ass games.
Not can, always have.
Sorry, you now have broken ass games. Or, and I love to give this analogy, you also have games. Okay, this is a full game. Okay, this is what you bought for a long time. This is what you buy now. It's close to the same, but it's different. And that's because they want you to pay a little extra for the game to actually make sense, sometimes.
Raise your hand if anybody knows what the concept of day one DLC is.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So basically, AAA publishers will ship a game and it is not complete because they had a schedule to meet, and once they get the game out, that they realize the game doesn't run, so day one DLC. So now I just installed a 20 gig game and I have a 30 gig patch to install to get the thing to run.
Or, thankfully, this got nipped in the butt really early. You had on-disc DLC.
Oh God, yes.
Where you have the disc, it has the entire game or all the characters on it. However, you need to pay $15 to actually unlock the rest of your disc. So you pay $60 plus the 15 to actually unleash the full power of your disc.
Now it's a good thing to keep in mind. This only really happens with AAA publishers.
Yeah.
When you talk about indie games, 9 times out of 10, the indie game is going to come out and it's going to be a full game. It's going to be the same thing that we would get back in the day when people shipped things that worked.
Well, the thing is, when you're an indie developer and you're trying to make a name for yourself, you don't want to do cloak and dagger stuff. You don't want to promise something and then screw over the consumers, because you're actually trying to build a name and build trust, because You don't have a name like Blizzard or Activision or EA or Ubisoft or one of those other companies that have screwed up a game somewhere along the lines. Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Unity. Or WB Games with, I can never remember which Batman it is, but on one of the systems, if you got in the car, the game broke.
Wasn't it Arkham Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as you walked all the way through Arkham City, you're cool. But get in the Batmobile. So with all this like advanced technology, be able to fix the game, there are times like Arkham Knight where the publisher had to pull every single copy to replace it because it was that bad. You also had, I think it was Skyrim, there was a bug where if you had a certain quest enabled for tracking purposes, you are now constantly being pursued by the City Watch. And so you could not fast travel. And man, did that suck. So you had to wait for the patch. The patch came out, and if you were dumb enough, like myself, to toggle the stupid quest back on, it started again. However, you toggled it off and fixed it. It's fine. But, so you have, so are video games changing for the good in the sense of the quality of the product? Depends on the title. If you're talking about like good for society, there's since the evolution of like how you can distribute your games, digital distribution is a beautiful thing, where now you're not limited by the stock that a certain store has. My favorite game to talk about for that is Puzzle Quest. When Puzzle Quest first came out, it was on shelves for about a week. No one knew what the hell Puzzle Quest was, so they sent them all back to the distributor. And then something crazy happened. Within a month time, everybody's going, where's Puzzle Quest? It's not on any one store shelves. And so the publisher had to ship them all back on their dime.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, show of hands. Who here remembers when like GameStop and other stores sold PC games on disc in the store?
Was it GameStop? Was it really GameStop back there? Was it EB
Electronics
Games
Boutique,
or Babbage's?
Babbage's. We're gonna go way back.
Ooh, Micro Center.
Micro Center still does, but that's because it's Micro Center. And you can get them on the shelves at like Target and stuff, but they're usually in the bargain bin. Yeah, so you know the heyday of games being sold in stores. Once now we have digital distribution. Yes, it's easy to get games, but then you go back to your game's going to ship and it's going to be bug-ridden and you have to download patches.
Well, the other thing about digital distribution is, and this is, for a developer, this is a thing of beauty, is there's no such thing as used games. Because so to give you a little bit of background on myself, I've held every single position in the gaming industry. However, I'm no longer in the gaming industry because, well, it's really tough to get into the gaming industry, especially in Georgia. If you can get in, you're probably going to be making a lot less money than you anticipate. So just a heads up for those of you out there who want to be in the entry-level QA tester, we're talking about $21,000 to $26,000 a year. But that being said, as a past developer, the way that GameStop works, and this is one of the things that is detrimental to society and everything, is that you buy a game for $60. The way that it breaks down is it's a 30-70 split. 30% goes to GameStop, 70% goes to the publisher. Then there's either 30-70 or 20-80, depending on who the developer is. 80 or 70 staying with the publisher, and that 30 or 20 going to the developer. Now, when you sell your game to GameStop and GameStop sells it back, they pocket all the money. So a game could be amazing, could be beautiful, could be mind-blowing, but once you're done with it, you're done. So you sell it back. But because people keep selling it back and people keep buying the used game, saving a few bucks, that company could actually go under because they're not actually making profit off it, especially a developer. It's a very, very quick way to kill a developer up. I'm not saying that I'm guilty of doing that way back when, before I entered the industry. Now I would never do it. Yeah, because you buy a $60 game, you sell it back for $15. They sell it for 45, so they make a $30 profit and rinse and repeat in every single store. The other thing is for the the publishers, every single spot that they have is rental space. So they spent money to put their games on a specific shelf, in a specific position, and a certain number. So with digital distribution, you kick that in the butt.
And that's really the reason why you won't see any indie games in stores like that, is because they just can't afford to go through that, rinse and repeat cycle of not getting enough money when their games sell.
Yeah, because you're basically at the what's the word I'm looking for? Mercy of the consumer in that area or whatnot. And it's the same thing with a lot of board games and like pencil and paper RPGs. You're seeing, unless it's a very established franchise, you're not seeing them being put in stores. They're going through things like drive-through RPG, if they're smart. They just print on demand, so that the developers have just PDF documents of their stuff, and then if you want the hardback version, you can buy it. So the other thing that's kind of cool, or is good, or potentially could be good, is that the fact that we're at the point where technology can be like photorealistic. Characters can look almost close to reality. However, there's also the issue of when it comes that close, when you're dancing on that line, certain people could utilize it as, yes sir?
Running face first into the uncanny valley.
Yeah. But the unfortunate thing is, because it gets so realistic with games, especially like Call of Duties and Battlefield and all that stuff, is you're basically feeding the ignorant machine that is the government to say that violence is, because of video games. Of course, I hope that everyone here knows that video games are pretend. When you stop playing, even if you, and I'm going to say I'm guilty of this, if I play a racing car game for too long, I might put my foot a little bit more on the accelerator, but soon after, like, there is no restart. So if I crash, I'm gone. So you got that. However, it's really pretty, and you can do a lot of things. One of the companies that constantly has done a lot of things is a company called Quantum Dreams, and they've done Indigo Prophecies. They did Heavy Rain, which still hurts me deep in my core. Heavy Rain is a game. Yes, exactly. Oh, Jesus.
I'm sorry.
So Heavy Rain is basically a game in which you have five characters, and they have storylines that are all by themselves, but they might might come together, thank you, at certain points. But that being said, if your character is unable to complete a specific piece in their storyline, or they die, the game continues and their storyline goes, I had all five until the end, and I lost all but two. And it was very sad. And of course, because of that, the ending changes. And you had a lot of interesting things that happen within that game that a lot of people might feel a little bit uncomfortable with. Same thing as, I think it was the original Modern Warfare, where you had to play the part of the terrorist and shoot someone. Was it in the eye?
Was it in the eye?
I think it was.
Yeah, it was in the eye.
So you get to see like the eyeball hanging out. I was like, oh my god. Thankfully that was skippable. But then you also have Quantum Dream's latest game.
Detroit Becoming Human.
Yeah, Detroit Becoming Human, where they've had a humongous amount of backlash. You're an android. In one of the scenarios, you're basically a nanny in this house. And the father is an abusive father. You don't actually see it, but in one of the outcomes or scenarios that could happen, he drags his daughter up the stairs and you can hear him beating her up. In another scenario that's shown, she grabs the child and I think runs upstairs, and in another one she kills the father.
Yep.
But because of that potential violence to children, everyone was up in arms. So you have that realism of things that actually could happen in real life going into games, because there are a lot of people out there who want to have that, just like in movies. But of course, the argument is, well, movies I'm just watching. I'm a passive participant, but in video games,
You're not taking part of it. You're not being a
Right.
participant.
Oh,
yes, sir.
no.
Okay. So you've got that, but at the same time, you can also gain some really interesting things, especially with these games where you have moral decisions, where you're put into a tough spot, and it can be, earth-shattering. It could actually make a difference to you about your actions, and that there's consequences to your actions, even if it is simply in a video virtual setting.
Show of hands, how many people have played the Mass Effect series before Andromeda?
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
And
Before Andromeda. We don't talk about Andromeda.
And we're not going to talk about the controversy of the ending, the original ending.
How many people went full evil?
Full evil, like every single diabolical choice you could do, you made it.
Two.
Two.
Wait, first playthrough or?
Yeah, first playthrough.
First playthrough.
First playthrough. Nobody? Nah, I got this one.
So the point I'm trying to make is, the biggest thing with Mass Effect when it first came out was it has this morality system, and you can either be, good, bad, or in the middle. And 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to go with good because we're generally good by nature. But then you have, that 1% that's going to go towards evil. And the outside world looks at that like, well, that 1% is the people that are going to go and, take video games for real and do whatever they're going to do.
I personally went straight down the line. I made bad decisions, some people would say bad decisions, evil decisions and good decisions, depending on the thing. Because sometimes a character rubbed me the wrong way, they gotta go. I'm sorry.
Some of those renegade options were actually pretty cool, like.
Exactly.
Sometimes the renegade option was the morally superior choice.
That is true. That is true. But if you're part of that 90%, you still probably went with the Paragon option because
No, I shot the elusive man as soon as he gave me the option.
Punch the reporter every time.
Yes.
Whoa.
Okay, so something else that has occurred that for gaming purposes that in my honest opinion has done a disservice to the gamers out there is something called online always for single player games.
Yes.
For single player, yeah.
Horrible.
So and I'm sure some people out here know, and I know you heard the story last night, but I'm going to do it again. So there's this wonderful game called SimCity. Anyone heard of SimCity? Okie dokie. So one of the latest versions of SimCity, online always, you have to have an internet connection, which mind-boggling. It's a single-player game. I mean, holy crap, could it be any more of a single-player game? But they decided to make it online always. So a lot of companies always, I guess, underestimate the popularity of certain games. So they had a lot more sales than anticipated. And so what happened was they had a couple servers, we'll say 5 just for the heck of it. They had 5 servers set up, and you are assigned to a random server when you log into the game. Now there was so much stress on those servers that they had to take them down. Here's a fun fact. Because your city is tied to a specific server, if that server goes down, you have no access to that town. So when you log in, you start with a new town. Now, if, let's say that your town you spend 20 hours on is on server 5 and it goes down, and you come back and server 3 is where you start your new town, which you're pissed off about because you spent 20 hours on that one, but you're like, all right, I just want to play a little bit, you get bored, 15, 20 minutes in, whatever. Next time you log in, both 3 and 5 are up. 3 is the last one you're on, so it automatically logs you back in to 3, not 5, and you have to actually select it to go back to 5, which made a lot of people very angry.
Something like that's going to happen soon. I don't know if you heard, but Resident Evil 7 is going to be on the Switch, but it's only available through streaming.
yes.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
Yep.
See,
The first person one.
this is another reason why you should support the indie community.
Yes, absolutely.
Because once again, they know that they can't screw you over. If they do, then you will never come back. And they're trying to build a rapport with you. Activision, all those big names, they know that they're going to get your money every single year.
Like, just in my line of work, like I said, I run LAN parties. You know, the big name publishers, they took out, you know, dedicated servers and you know, local LAN play and stuff like that for most of their games because they want you to be online all the time. They want to be able to monitor you're playing the game and what you're doing and stuff like that. Indie developers, on the other hand, are embracing this now because they realize we're having a renaissance of LAN culture, and that's an untapped market when it comes to some games. But you can't do that with online always. You know, that's an offline portion of the game. So you won't see it with AAA games, but go support the indies.
The thing is, I don't understand. I got this game for single player purposes so that if the internet goes down, I can play it. Okay, so this is another thing that a lot of people have to understand is that you're no longer talking about, and the Resident Evil 7 is a perfect example. The game is no longer a product, it's a service. So the service is only available when all the planets align. Whereas when you had the game, you had the game. Yes, sir?
So that reminds me of something. Assassin's Creed Origins did it. I feel like a lot more are going to start doing it. Interactive features in single-player only games.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I don't care. I don't want to go avenge this guy. Stop spamming me with all this.
Well, the other thing is, like, you've also seen this kind of progression of you have single-player games, like Tomb Raider, for example, that because there is going to be some sort of demographic that likes to have online play, you've got this terribly put together kind of like 5-on-5 melee that doesn't fit in with the game. It's a survival sneak around game. It's not run at each other with guns ablazing. But they do it because they know that someone is going to buy it and play it. Yes, sir?
Spec Ops The Line, the message versus the multiplayer.
Or take a game like Diablo 3.
Okay.
This is a single-player game. It's a loot, you know, a loot grind game, but they forced multiplayer into it by, you know, the ability for your friend to jump in whenever the hell they want. And as Charlie,
I'll give you my quick horror story. So I played Diablo 3 basically solo the entire time. My buddy had it, and we kind of teamed up once in a while. But apparently, and I know that most people who've played, how many people have played Diablo 3? Okay, so there's this wonderful feature that says to basically inform you if someone wants to join your game. Well, I didn't know about that, so I'd be battling like a boss, let's just say Diablo, right at the end of the game. And my buddy would say, oh, he's playing Diablo, let me jump in, which automatically, as soon as a player goes in, the difficulty ramps up. Well, guess what? He's window shopping in town. He's not coming to help me with Diablo, and I get my ass pasted. Like,
yeah, these are things that should not be happening in single-player games. So,
excuse me. So, one of the other things that you're going to see with a lot of AAA titles is that many publishers are kind of hoping that multiplayer, they want to put more emphasis on multiplayer than single player. One of the reasons is it's cheaper. You have a core mechanic, you throw in a couple maps, a couple different gaming modes, and then you're good to go, and then you just spam the crap out of everyone with DLC. Hey, look at this new gun, look at this new map, this new mode, whatever. Single player games, you're talking about cinematics, you're talking about voice acting, you're talking about levels that you might only go through once, you're talking about 32-hour long tutorials, Final Fantasy 13, stuff like that. Which, by the way,
Mafia 3, the first like third of the game is a tutorial.
I don't know how long Final Fantasy 13 is. All I know is I made through the tutorial and basically put it back in its case and then left it on the shelf.
I'd say Nier Automata, considering the entire first time you play the game is the tutorial, and then when you go into New Game Plus, that's when the game actually starts. How many Call of Duty players do we have?
Do the old ones count?
Call of Duty from any era.
I still play 3, none of the rest.
Okay, of the people that have their hands raised, how many of you play the single player?
I don't know.
So, for those who don't know, the new Call of Duty game coming out later this year will not have a single player component for the first time in the entire franchise history. And this was done because they think that Call of Duty should be multiplayer only, and now they're going to force everybody to play their Battle Royale mode, because that's like, you know, the trend buzzword of the, you know, generation. So, in my opinion, taking the single player out of a game like that, I only play Call of Duty for the single player. I don't play multiplayer at all. I actually hate Call of Duty multiplayer. It's the worst cesspool there is. But their single player campaigns are some of the most cinematic gameplay that I've experienced in the last decade. Now they're taking that out. They're pulling a whole entire, you know, base of buyers out of the contention of buying their game. Does anybody think that's for good, or is it something that we should, you know, be looking at for other games? Take out the single player and focus on
If
multiplayer?
it means Battlefield will start making better campaigns to scoop us up, then yes.
I don't know if that will do it or not, because
I wonder if it's kind of like a combination
From what I
between
heard,
being
there's
social and
going to
mental
be
about it.
right,
putting the storyline in the multiplayer for some reason.
that will never happen.
That's,
I'm going to be totally honest with you, that will never happen. The best you can hope for with a lot of these games that are going more and more multiplayer centric is that you have single player as a tutorial where you get to learn all the mechanics of it and then get thrown in. Or you could go the Fortnite route and just throw your ass into the deep end of the pool, and then you have to fend for yourself, which I did not do so well. I ended up building an actual fort and wondering what the hell I was doing until someone goes, hey, someone's built a house. Let me go see who it is to kill. Hey, I got 26 plays. That's all I have to say. But on the note of like Call of Duty and whatnot, I personally do not play games that are close to realistic when it comes to like war games and stuff like that. I need to have that Mass Effect or that Gears of War or something that kind of like separates me a little further from reality. So I'm killing things that hopefully don't exist under the earth or in the sky, which is literally Halo, they're above. Gears of War, they're below.
Aren't you the invader in Gears of War, though?
No. No, the Locust and the humans apparently been around for a long ass time. Who knows who was there first? Yeah, you're gonna kick the crap out of them.
now in Halo, you would be the invader because, you know.
Yeah, you keep just trying to poke the bear.
Yeah.
How many people play Madden? Yes, football. All right, so this is for you. Do you buy a new copy every single year?
No.
Good man, good man.
That is actually the first time I've heard somebody say that answer.
Okay, so here's a fun fact about EA Sports. EA Sports allows for your game to last for 2 years, and they shut it off, the online portion, because they want you to buy the new game. God forbid that they just do a roster update. I actually got blackballed from EA Sports for a bit because of a offhand comment I made. So I'm going to make it right now. So this is how, in my mind, this is how they create the latest and greatest. Man, of course they give you the updates and maybe a graphical push or whatever. But in my mind, they have a huge wall that's all corkboard, okay? And on this wall, they have these little cards that give you all the different features in Madden. And so what they do is they have these 2 darts. One is called the enhancement dart, and the other is the slightly broken dart. Not that the dart is broken, but this is, well, I'll explain. So they'll throw the enhancement dart, let's say quarterback passing, and so they will focus on quarterback passing to make it better. Then the slightly broken dart they'll throw and be like, I don't know, field goal kicking. Well, they'll break it ever so slightly so that you're going to be like, oh shoot, I want to have that better experience, so you buy another one. And they rinse and repeat. EA was like, that's not what we do. We make a brand new game, we enhance it on all fronts. I'm like, no you don't. No you don't. But I mean, this is a prime example of, you have a very established publisher in EA that you know about, and the vast majority of the games in certain areas have always been strong, and so you just buy it on name recognition.
All right, I have another
Yes, sir.
topic,
Yes.
and this is probably going to enrage the room. Actually, I hope it does, because I want to see what happens.
Do it.
What do you all feel when I say the word loot crate?
Ooh, disgust.
Who loves them some Loot Crate?
Don't play multiplayer, don't care.
Doesn't even have to be multiplayer. Loot Crates have invaded single player.
Absolutely.
I agree with Jim Sterling for all that. Just, they're evil.
Absolutely. So the invention of Loot Crate obviously came around because, we want microtransactions in games, or this is what the publishers are saying.
Yeah, the publishers. We don't want them.
We don't want
the
them.
consumer, don't want them.
We want to find ways that we can, nickel and dime our consumers. Thank you. I'm trying to think of the word. In every possible way that we can. And you're talking, you're adding a feature into a game that forces people to have to pay to win. 9 times out of 10. Sometimes it's just a cosmetic thing, like Overwatch. Obviously, it's just skins and whatnot. But in my opinion, that is the antithesis of where we should be when it comes to gaming, because we want to play games for fun. We don't want to play games for monetary gain or anything else. I mean, you play games to escape. And if I have to sit there and pay, $5, $10, whatever, to unlock the best gear in the game so that I can actually enjoy the game.
Well, potentially the best gear, because loot boxes
Right,
are
it's
randomized.
a lottery system, yes,
Yep.
absolutely. So if I have to pay that much money for the chance to get the best gear in the game, that takes away from my enjoyment of the game.
It's the interesting thing is that a game of chance has been a phrase that's been used a lot, and people take that leap immediately to gambling, and that's why at least one country, Denmark, has actually outlawed loot boxes. That functionality has to be turned off in Denmark. You also have seen Apple actually put their foot down and said that if you have this in your game, you have to explicitly say it and state it within your description. If you do not, and it's found out that you have this functionality, we'll immediately remove your game. If you're a repeat offender, we will remove your entire collection and ban you. Yes, sir.
So with Denmark, is that like with Germany, you can just go to Austria and get the uncensored version. With Denmark, is it the same? If you hate yourself and you want the loot boxes, can you just get a foreign version?
I mean, there's nothing to stop somebody from doing that. So yeah, that's definitely
Is
an
it like
option.
banned on like the actual transactions are banned?
No, the thing with Denmark is they actually went to the publishers and said, look, if you want to sell your game in our country, then you have to remove this. But yeah, if you want to go buy a copy from a different country and then figure out a way to make it work, you can still do that.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
What does this do with the states, and certain states like Hawaii and others potentially with gambling outlaws now?
Yep, Hawaii's definitely there. I know that New York was kind of spurring things up as well. Of course, with this new law that basically said you can gamble.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
That's some good downhill for the industry.
For certain parts. The other thing is now that we're at this, I guess, this state of the game industry, the exclusivity of a lot of games is now gone because publishers are having to spend an arm and a leg to produce these games, and so why would they limit themselves to only the PlayStation platform or only the Xbox platform? You're seeing these games appear on multiple consoles. Now, of course, Sony has found a way to combat that, and that is there's no such thing as cross-play. You don't get to play your friends on the Xbox. If you want to play this multiplayer game, you play it with friends who have PlayStations. That's it.
No, that's not it. It's not just people that have PlayStations, because crossplay between PC and PlayStation is a thing.
Yeah, that's up to the publisher.
Yeah.
Technically, however, there was a game that actually, well, like, yeah, PC to PlayStation, but PlayStation to Xbox is a no-no.
Right.
There was a company that accidentally left the cross-platform code in there where people on the Xbox could play against PlayStation. Sony became aware of it, and they basically said, shut it down. And so they had to.
Fortnite did that for a bit, didn't they?
Not yet. So, I mean, so are things changing for the good? I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder. I mean, you definitely have a wider variety of games, especially in the indie part, and I would say that there's less games in the AAA titles, or reboots or remakes or sequels in the AAA title, because they're now going off of established franchises.
No new IP.
No new IP. They're scared to death of new IP. And to prove my point, there was a company called Boss Key Productions.
Oh, boss.
Boss Key was founded by Cliff Bleszinski, who was basically, a lot of people would say, was the man behind Gears of War. He created his company created two games. Lawbreaker, which didn't do that well, and then he also came out with some battle royale game.
Rebel Heights.
There it is, and that one kind of went, and guess what? It shut down. Now Cliff says that he wanted to step away to focus on the family and whatever, but apparently financially, Boss Key Productions was in the toilet. Yes, sir.
Did you see Cliff's, once Boss Key shut down, he went to Twitter and started talking about his ideas for new IPs that got shot down by the publishers he went to.
Yep.
One of them sounded really cool, which was the ninjas on dragons with guns fighting alien zombies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have been interested in that game. Good.
Mashed all over like it.
Well, I mean,
Shot down by publishers because of the IP.
right, exactly, and publishers don't want to take a chance.
Exactly. And the thing, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
One E3, there was this game called Skillbound, where you were this
Yeah,
guy with a
Skillbound.
sword, and there was this dragon, and you were like teamed up for like some kind of buddy cop action type of stuff. Then Xbox Microsoft just canceled.
And so, little deep dark secret. The amount of games that a developer makes is astronomically larger than the ones that get published. There's a very good chance that 80% of the games that a developer makes will never see the light of day. I personally worked on, let's see here, in the final year that I was with the company I was with, I worked on 6 different titles. We shipped 1. So, there could be amazing ideas out there. Hell, there could be original IPs. First of all, the developer has to do that on their own time. If they want to create something, they have to pay for it. Publisher's not going to pay for it. Or you crowdsource, crowdfund, Kickstarter, or what's the other one? Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Now they're fake. They have fake.
Fig is terrible.
Fake is not terrible. Dude,
They made it out to be people, if you donate money, you get a chunk of like the royalties, but the entry cost is astronomical to the average Joe.
right, but okay, so you're forgetting that there's two parts to fake. There's the I want to just back the game, and then there's the I want to be an investor. If you just back in the game just like you would on Kickstarter, Fig is great. It's come up with like, I don't know, 3 of the top 10 games in the last 5 years. So that part is awesome. But yes, the investor portion of it, I'm sorry.
It was very misleading. They're like, you could become an investor in there and gain part of the game. And then people are like, oh, awesome. And like I can think of the entrance was at least 5.
It was 10 grand.
10 grand. You're like, I don't have that money. Or you could just go the route of the very infamous Star Citizen, where you start on Kickstarter and go, we're probably gonna need more money. And so they started doing just like a pledge on our website. And they started racking in things, and then they're like, let's buy you virtual ships, but at real world prices. So you could buy a $15,000 ship that you potentially one day will be able to use in Star Citizen if it ever gets to that point.
Of course, if you lose that $15,000 ship in the game, then you lost
It's gone.
$15,000.
EVE Online.
Or if the game never just comes out.
I don't know if it's actually, are we past alpha now?
No, we're still in alpha.
Okay.
But we're in alpha 3, I think.
Fun side fact, I apparently pledged at some point Star Citizen
So did I.
because I started getting emails a while back and I'm like, why are they emailing me? And then like I logged in, I'm like, oh, I pledged. Damn it.
Yeah, I have a hangar full of ships, and I've like never actually touched the game.
I only have one, I think, maybe. I don't remember. I logged on once when it was just the hangar and literally just, that's it. Hangar. There's nothing else.
You could walk around your ship. And
Yeah.
it looked pretty, and you could like interact with the buttons and stuff like that.
About it. Yes, sir.
Was Star Citizen the one that got Mark Hamill and was gonna have like live action cutscenes and all that?
Was? Yes.
That's Wing Commander.
No. He did Wing Commander, but yeah, Mark Hamill was supposed to do like some stuff for Star Citizen.
Yeah, the guy
And a bunch of
who,
other.
the guy, the mastermind behind Star Citizen was Wing Commander. Then he went into
Yep.
TV and movies and decided, I want to go back into games.
Chris Roberts.
Yep, that's him. They gained so much money that they decided to put it towards creation of alien languages, planets, large-scale battles, scenarios, I don't know, a ton of stuff. That's just like,
Broaden their horizons.
huh?
They were broadening their horizons a lot.
Yeah, and then apparently certain modules ran out of money. Allegedly ran out of money. Allegedly. That's a fun word to use in the industry. Allegedly. Allegedly, we wanted this feature in the game. However, due to the time constraints, we were unable to finish this feature.
Which is funny when you think about the money aspect, because let's say they have money to put on a convention every year,
Yep.
CitizenCon.
Yep.
They have money to partner with peripheral manufacturers, Mad Cats, to create an entire line of joysticks and whatnot that are specifically for the game.
Yep.
But we don't have money to actually finish our game.
You don't actually have a product that could be completely sold. But then again, how many games are actually there that are full products?
Again, if it's a AAA title, none.
None.
Witcher 3, does that count?
So, okay, Witcher 3, that's a fringe case, because let's see, CD Projekt Red, not exactly a AAA publisher.
It's got the quality of a AAA title. Absolutely.
What qualifies AAA?
Depends on the person, the company.
When you think of AAA, you're usually thinking of your EAs, your Activisions, your Blizzards, that type of thing.
The mega publishers.
Yeah.
The ones that don't actually develop, they just grab onto companies, drain the life from them. And then when they're just husks, they kick them to the curb.
If you're a publisher and you're like publishing your own game, like you're the developer, you're the publisher, you're everything, there's nobody else, then I consider that indie. And CD Projekt Red is actually an indie publisher.
What
when
do
you
you
think
say
about
about something like Nintendo, who publishes and also develops?
it. That's another fringe case when you think about it.
What? Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, Nintendo has always, well, actually, to be honest with you, long time ago when EA actually made their own games, it was actually a haven for independent, smart, outside-the-box thinkers. EA was like the best thing, and then they're like, what is this green stuff? I like this. Let's just do this. And so they stopped. Yes, sir.
Yeah, question.
What do you think of Konami's kind of blunders? Like canceling Silent Hills and getting rid of all their franchises that you liked back in the day, like Suikoden's coming back as a pachinko machine. Here's getting a pachinko machine, and Castlevania's got a future machine.
Yeah. So, I mean, in my opinion, Konami is no longer worth anything. Getting rid of Hideo Kojima was the worst mistake any publisher could have.
I think he wanted out anyways. But
He did, but that's
So
besides.
they pushed him to it.
they're like, oh, you're not happy? He's like, yeah, I'm not happy.
I mean,
oh, okay.
Death Stranding is going to come out, and we're all going to be like, wow, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Konami's gonna be sitting there like, that could have been me. Oh well.
Yes, sir.
Forget Konami. There hasn't been an original Mega Man game other than the two
No, I don't-
just original. I mean, the two original series, not other than those two where they're just feeding off your nostalgia. It's been over 10 years. Remember Maverick Hunters?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm still bummed out that Mega Man Legends 3 never got its.
And Legends 3?
But Mighty Number 9.
Oh, Yes, ma'am.
Kill the Heathen.
Yes,
I think it's
ma'am.
kind of interesting that the move to more specific multiplayer, especially like without a lot of storyline, kind of is fitting the stereotype of video games being very violent. Because by taking out of the story, you take out a big argument of, well, we're teaching morals, or we're teaching history, or we're teaching survival, but instead now it's very focused on violence. So I wonder if that could be a way to present it that maybe we should move back towards single-player storylines, not because people want it, even though we do, but more because there is a stigma around video games that is just growing with violence.
Well, one of the things is the buzzword is replayability. When you have a single player game, a lot of people, unless there's something crazy that like multiple endings, you get one pass through and then you're done. Once again, it costs an arm and a leg or a butt ton to make a single player game, where the multiplayer games are like bite-sized matches. It could one of those matches could potentially drag on for an hour. But most of them will probably be done in 20 minutes, and then you're able to basically create your own experiences that are unique to each individual. And that's what, unfortunately, violence is the king of that, because people are like, man, you remember when I blew that guy up from 20 yards away? And it's just unfortunate. That's why the indies are becoming more and more prevalent, because they're trying to stay true to that. And there are companies out there who will refuse to do it, but they're growing less and less simply because of the pressure that publishers are putting on. Yes, sir.
The thing about replayability with multiplayer games, they actually don't have that much. That's why they need to now make you unlock, or well, either that or just buy it.
No.
Unlock everything.
Now, the thing is, we are capitalistic to the core. We need that brand new shiny thing. So what they do is, yes, at some point, the replayability is going to decrease. However, you are going to be playing that game over and over because you can have friends, or you start going up the ladder in competitive play. And to keep you interested, they release a new map, which by the way, they've already made, but they're not gonna tell you that. Or a new shiny gun, or some new game mode. It's easier to do that than create an additional piece of the story.
Most
I'm sorry, go.
No, just most single-player games, most AAA single-player games. Let's just take the recent God of War, for instance. Your development cycle for that game is 5 years. That's time and money that they spend on a great experience, but after that, then you're done and nobody's going to play it again. Versus development cycles for multiplayer games are 5 months.
Because you're literally just upgrading the
Continually
engine.
turning it over and still making money.
Yes.
I probably just know something that everyone can relate to. Like, what do you think of Valve?
As just a company, or
As
Like, the way they make games, like they make these like Half-Life Team Fortress, then one of my favorite series, the Portal franchise. So they're these smart games with interesting characters and really gripping and sometimes tragically heartbreaking stories, and then they don't do anything for 10 years. What the heck
So
is that?
here's the thing about Valve.
Yeah.
Valve only ever made one game, Half-Life.
Yeah.
That's their only original IP.
Everything else from
Portal, Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress, these were mods. These were games that, people took the Half-Life engine and made something else with it. Valve didn't do that. They just bought the people that made the game and said, oh, now it's a Valve game. So really, Valve they're not a publisher, they're a platform. And that's the reason why we don't have Half-Life 3, because they don't care about making games anymore. Unless you count the card game, which we're not even talking about.
How do you think review embargoes are affecting the consumers?
Really good question.
well, as a reviewer, Okay, so this is kind of tough because certain embargoes are absolutely insane, and there's also
I've heard they do like day of embargoes. Like they don't let you release your review until the day of. They don't give you the game until the day before.
no, they will give you the game. They'll give you the game with enough time to do a thorough playthrough so that you actually understand, because they don't want you to half-ass it. Like a certain individual at GameSpot who decided to write an entire review off of a high-res game called Global Agenda. He wrote this, basically ripping it apart. And unfortunately, here's a fun fact: when you play an online-only game, the servers actually keep track of your username and how much you play. So to write a full review on 16 minutes of play is absolute crap. So they want you to play the full game. This day of embargoes is silly because they're not 100% secure in the fact that you might find the game favorable. So they want to be able to get those day one sales out of the way for consumers that are not informed before people go, I don't know. However, they're all, hypothetically, or maybe there are certain developers and publishers out there that kind of tell you, if you're not going to be nice, don't say anything.
I feel like Bungie was definitely a big culprit in these past few years with Destiny.
Well, here's another thing. Who here goes to Metacritic? Okay, personally, stop it.
Yeah.
Here's
Aggregators are the worst thing.
Here's the problem. Metacritic basically, it compiles a bunch of data from all these sites and gives you an average score. Cool. Unfortunately, not every site that they're pulling from pulls or sets it to a 0 to 100 scale. You have those companies out there who do like maybe out of 4. Okay? So in your mind, you're like, it's kind of there. 3 out of 4. Well, that's a 75 in Metacritic. And that, of course, knocks it down. Here's another thing. Publishers utilize Metacritic because they're too dang lazy to actually look for the reviews. So they base their choices of where they're going to put their money for, like potential reboots or sequels, on the Metacritic score. If you have a score above an 85, you have an 80% chance of a sequel. If it's 84 or below, you're probably never going to see a sequel. Because they think it's trash.
Show of hands, who pre-orders games?
Pre-orders.
Pre-orders.
I'd have to really, really, really want it, because I know all the extra stuff I can just download later.
So, as far as the review embargo thing goes, and I'm going to take the other side of the coin because I'm actually not a reviewer, but if you pre-ordered a game and then the publisher comes out and has a 0-day embargo on the reviews, cancel that pre-order. That game's gonna suck. That's plain and simple. They're hiding something if they're waiting for reviews.
If you can't find any information about like a AAA title or something, something's up. Like probably very, very bad. Yes, sir.
It's kind of like what they're doing with the YouTube. They've been hitting them with the copyright notices for any sort of non-favorable review. I know Nintendo was notorious for it,
Okay,
but
well,
a lot of PC publishers are.
Nintendo, to be honest with you, and pardon my language, but Nintendo is a bunch of douchebags when it comes to reviews or, let's say, fan projects. You want to find a company that will try to kick you in the nuts faster than Nintendo. You can't. You can't. You've got, there was a movie, a fan-made movie called Hero of Time, which was based on Zelda. It was not bad. It was interesting. Nintendo goes, nope, take it down. However, there was a fan-made movie about Mega Man, which was pretty bad. But Capcom goes, high five, guys, it's cool that you're making fan stuff for us.
Absolutely. Or take, has anybody ever heard of A2MR? Or, thank you. Words.
That
matters.
one.
So, this was a remake of a Metroid game that basically Nintendo was like, this is awesome, we love it, but you can't put it out there because it's not ours.
Also the issue of later that year at the Game Awards. It was nominated for Best Fan Project. That whole award just got totally taken out of the award show.
Yep.
Because Nintendo complained about it.
Or has everyone ever heard of a game called Pokemon Uranium?
Yeah.
That love project that was supposed to be phenomenal, that added additional evolutions, that the Pokemon Company, which, fun fact, Nintendo owns a stake in the Pokemon Company. They don't own it, which was kind of interesting that when Pokemon Go first came out, Nintendo stock rose through the roof. And then when people figured out that Nintendo doesn't actually own the controlling stake, Nintendo stock went back down.
Worked for me, I made a $60 profit.
Well, there you go. but
What's the underlying?
huh?
What would be the underlying part of this
For what?
for the Pokemon series?
For the so the thing is, when you create a fan project, the IP holder they're tied to that name. So if you make a craptacular Pokemon game, then it looks bad on them. So they don't want to risk it. Now, of course, you can put fan-made project. The other thing is, a lot of individuals, a lot of companies that own the IP do not want people to make money off of that IP. If it's not yours, they don't want you to turn a profit, which is one of the problems with trying to do like a fan-made film through Kickstarter is you're gaining money to create a fan project, which gets a little hazy. Yes, sir.
We're talking about with like fan games and how developers and publishers have reacted to it. Sega and Sonic fan games, for example, is one where they really don't mess with those much. Kind of just let them be, and even in the case of like Sonic Mania, where they actually got fan developers to make the game for them.
Right.
Well, there's also, the game that was at the Ultra Confusion table yesterday is called Freedom Planet, which is literally Sonic. Except you can shoot.
Shadow the Hedgehog?
Wow,
Okay.
Doki.
All right, let's go back to the Freedom Planet part of it.
No, it's. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. I had it. It's gone.
Fan
He
project,
said Shadow and that was
compulsory.
Yeah. As soon as you said Shadow the Hedgehog, I went, yes, sir.
This is gonna sound weird, but there's all these companies, they are sitting on all these IPs that would be great to bring back to the modern day. It's just that they don't really do anything about them. Like, I want to do ActRaiser, I would like to do Time Splitters.
How about any Lucas Arts games that Disney's literally
I want Rogue Squadron!
we're not going to make games. Nope. Tim Schafer has actually come out and said, give me the rights to Monkey Island. I will pay you real money, like lots of real money. This is like verbatim. Lots of real money. Please let me have this because I want to continue to make this. And Disney's like,
They would rather sit on the licensing for those games and drive the price up through the roof, and then when they finally get to a point where somebody's going to give them more money than God, then they'll release it.
and now I'm going to put a quick parallel to that. I'm going to hurt his feelings, I know, and your feelings, and probably a lot of people's feelings. But it's the same aggressive stance that Fox is taking on Firefly.
Why do you have to go there?
I'm sorry, but it literally is. They see that there's this need, so they're like, well, we're just gonna keep pushing up the price. You were gonna say something else?
Well, there's this one guy who created this game called like Metal Arms, which is a system that's about this robot guy who took over robots and
Yep.
stuff. And it didn't really sell all that well because I guess they didn't really advertise it all that much.
Yep.
He wants to buy the rights to the game, but the person that actually owns the rights won't sell it to him.
Here's another fun fact. I can't remember what the game is, but when a company goes defunct, and then you basically have a fire sale of all the IPs, and different companies pick it up, and there's a little bit of like haziness or vagueness to who truly owns the rights. When you try to resurrect the series, all kinds of craziness can happen. Sir?
Yes, because they got rid of, I don't know if you guys remember, it's back in the early 2000s, they got rid of compulsory licensing. That was something that went back to Congress that would prevent them from just sitting on IP, that could be used for something. If you couldn't come to terms, Congress would automatically assign like a 15% license fee, and that's it. And then you can go ahead and go forward with the project, as long as it just didn't choppy crap.
Yes, sir.
So anyone remember Red Faction?
I was just going to mention about Violation.
Okay, Red Faction and Saints Row, the connection between them?
Yep.
THQ.
Also, same reason that Lone Ranger and Green Hornet back in the 30s when they got bought out by different companies, they were set in the same universe and now they can't mention each other.
That's just like Marvel/Disney can't actually, I don't know, maybe they can now, but for the longest time, they couldn't say mutant.
Nope, they still can't.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Mutate.
Fox owns that. What do they call it, Gifted? Is that what they went with?
Yeah, it's called Gifted.
Yep.
And Warner Brothers owns the Happy Birthday song.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been
That's like,
That's
So stupid.
another panel in
yeah,
itself.
yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we are at the hour mark. Well, I can't talk. But there's an Ultra Fusion table in the fan area. If you want to chit chat about what we've discussed or have more questions or whatnot, I am there through the end of this convention. Ultra Fusion also does a live Thursday night show every Thursday. We did it last night, which it was live. It's audience driven. Usually happens at 8 p.m. Eastern time, but because of the scheduling last night, it happened at 10. But I want to thank everyone for tuning out. If you want an Ultra Fusion button, I have them somewhere around here. Here they are. And then also, if you want to get, if you want one of the social media cards so that you know all the different ways to hit us up, you can go to the table. With that, thank you for coming, and I hopefully will be talking and discussing games with you in the near future.